This meeting is being recorded.
Woo.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah, there's like this weird thing on the top that's like in the way. Do you see it? It's like taking up 25% of the page.
Is it?
It is.
Oh, it looks like a preview. Yep.
It's gone.
It's gone? Let me try this again. Here, you can see it now though? Okay.
It's all perfect. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Well, it looks like Atlanta's showing up. Nice. I can't see you, Carlia. I'm going to call y'all out. Catmundo, I can't see you. Do you know why I have to see you guys? Because I have to be able to read your body language, which is the whole point of this exercise today.
I'm sorry, I'm driving.
That's okay. Hi, RJ. Ben Kinney doesn't let us do videos without our video on. Just saying. It's rough. Andre's like, y'all getting a taste of Karen today. Oh, I can't even shut it down.
All right, let's go ahead and start, Karen.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, Wes. And I would like to help you guys dive into a little bit about some skill sets that will help you determine how to read the room and how to be the best you can be with your clients. So who has heard of the DISC profile? Raise your hand if you're on video. All right, just a few of us. The idea with the DISC profile is that you're able to understand a little bit more about the person with whom you're speaking and a little bit more about yourself. So that will help you advance in the conversation and feel more connected. Everything we do is to attract people to us and then keep them interested and listen to what they're saying. But some of this is nonverbal communication, right? Some of this is noticing, feelings, things like that. So we'll go right into the next slide, Wes. Thank you. The DISC profile is made up of 4 categories in which you try to determine what is someone's profile. And they can be in multiple different ones of these 4 buckets. And we're going to send this this presentation out, but you're more than welcome to start taking notes. The idea is that most people have one dominant category in which they fall, right? They either present as high dominant, they're very driven. They present as someone who's like an influencer, or we call it involvement, someone who's very connected. They lead with security and steadiness, or they lead with a sort of an analytical mind, computers and compliance. And I'm going to go through all of these for you. It's most important, if you go to the next slide, to really identify who you are, right? As I go through these, start writing down or thinking about, who am I? Because if you start figuring out who you are, it's going to be a lot easier for you to really read the room. And then you can start reading people that are close to you, like your spouse or your teammate or your team leader, things like that. So let me go through these. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'll still be reading chat. And you can try to understand where these categories fall. Again, the concept is, if you learn these 4 general categories, most people lead with 1, sometimes 2. And most of us have a little bit of all of these things. So it's not like we're not any of them, but you have a general personality type. And I'm going to also let you guys guess who I am and who Wes is, and what personality types we have. It might be hard for some of you, but I think you'll figure it out. All right. The first type is D for dominance. When you meet someone who literally does not have time to hear all the words, they speak in bullet points, they go super fast, their focus is results and control, results and control. And you might look at their body movements. They might use their hands a lot, or they might speak loudly or come towards you, but they're in a rush. And a lot of these are, some of these are, you might think of a top executive who's running around, bossing everybody around, or telling people where to go, and you sort of look up to them. They know what they want. They have massive clarity. They don't have a lot of extra time, right? They're not going to hang out with you. Amy's laughing right now, I can tell. What do they fear? And we're going to get through all these one by one. We're going to go through what's important to these people, what they fear, what they like and dislike, and how they behave. So start thinking about this. Do you know someone who behaves this way? And then when you do, how do I respond to them when they behave that way? If I'm the same way, I might match and mirror. But if I'm totally different than them, how am I best for them? Okay, next slide. So D, next slide. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, next slide, dominant. All right. Dominant people, the way in which they exert control is by constantly knowing what's going on. And they don't have a lot of time. So people who are not very patient, raise your hand. This is a D, a driver. I want it done. I want it done now. You're taking advantage of me. You're taking advantage of my time. That's how they feel, right? They're high tension, high anxiety. They can be appearing domineering and impatient because they don't have a lot of time and they think time is money, and you're wasting their time and money if you're not coming out with it efficiently or responding quickly enough. They like it when you present them with choices and options, and they like it when you're efficient and you've done the work in advance. They don't want to go back and forth and have to explain it. So when you're talking to a client who's like this, do they want to have a 2-hour listing appointment or a 30-minute listing appointment? Probably 30 minutes. And the idea is match them on the phone or listen to them and try to read them and decide, okay, I get that they don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to squeeze in 30 minutes. We're going to come up with another personality type shortly that probably prefers to have a really long listing appointment or a buyer consultation. Okay, these people want quick, quick, quick. Okay, what's the next one? So go back to ask, sorry, the slide before. What do we want to do with people who are high dominant? We want to ask them what's important to them. What's going on in their world? Do you hear those what questions? We don't want to say why. When you speak to someone who's a D and you ask them why, they're going to get offended. They're going to be annoyed. So just ask them very open-ended question. What's important to you about that? What comes up for you with that? What does that do for you? What will that do for you? Those are the kinds of things that someone who's a high D won't be offended with. They'll just think that is regular conversation. But you have to be very precise. So use your words very clearly and efficiently. What are you trying to accomplish? What is the goal? And some of these people will operate off of email and they'll send 3 words, 2 words. They don't write in complete sentences. They don't write in complete sentences. Okay, Amy's laughing again, because you better show your value. You better get in and get out, get in and get out. So just because you guys are a certain way doesn't mean that this person's going to tolerate talking to you. You have to change for the client. You have to change for the client. You have to adapt for the client. Okay. And this is 10% of the population. So it's not everybody, right? Just so you understand. These are very high driven people. Usually they lead teams, they lead projects. They're the leader of the household. So just understand that. Okay. Next slide. Okay. The influencer is someone who is very involved with people. Now, these people really enjoy, they're smiling all the time and they like to go to parties and network. And I'm a high I too, by the way. I'm high D. I lead with my D, but I'm also high I. I like to know Alim's background is from another country. I like to know that Amy, how's she doing with her family? They want to be involved with people. They want to be connected. But if they hang out with a D for too long, the D will get annoyed with the I. The I talks too much. The I takes too long to get there. Too many details, right? So you have to, if you're an I, you're going to have to go faster. You're going to have to say less words. The I wants to know how your dog is doing, and they remember that your dog's name is Barf, and whatever. So those are the kinds of things. If you're an I, you're in touch with details. You remember people's birthdays. And this is really exceptional. If your client is an I and you're a D, you're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to hang out with them. You're going to have to block an hour and a half listing presentation instead of just 30 minutes. Does that make sense for everybody? So they want to be recognized. If you have a person on your team or you have a client who's an I, they want to have the happy anniversary, happy birthday, lots of partying, acknowledge me. And they don't want a lot of complexity. They just want, some simple stuff, right? Just notice them. They don't want to be rejected and they just want to be, approved. So they get their feelings hurt if they don't get chosen. If they're going up against another person and they don't get chosen for that listing, they'll get their feelings hurt. So if you're a client who's high I and they keep losing on offers that you guys write, you're going to have to learn to be empathetic to them and let them sit and talk about their pain and their challenges because they're sad. Does that make sense? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They can be emotional. Is anybody here a high I? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you for owning that. Disorganized. Again, I'm a high D, high I, so I'm a hot mess. I mean, I'll just say it right out of the gate. I have all of these things. Disorganized, emotional. They love testimonials. If you have a high I client, please send them your testimonial link. They will fill it out. They will write you a freaking novel. If you send it to high D, they're going to take 3 or 4 days and they're not going to respond. You have to send it 5 times and they're going to write, great job. That's what they're going to do. That's fine. We'll take it. Kat, is this coming through okay? Yes, nice. Okay, they like to connect with you and their decision style is emotional. They want to feel it. They take a little while to get there, right? They're processing. All right, what's the next one on I? They are all about the people. So if you go to the next slide, Wes, where it says ask who questions, if you ask them questions, you want to say things like, who is that important for? Who is coming with you on this journey? Who is a part of this decision-making process? Who is in your household? Who are you doing this for? Does that make sense? We all have a very natural state from which we operate, and we all can adapt. To your point, Amy, we can adapt. So when these people, we're talking to influencers, we want to talk about the person. We want to know their spouse's name. Wes, if you come back to the screen, we've lost you.
I'm sorry, I hit a button.
Okay, no problem. So ask them who questions. We'll come back to wherever we were on the slide. Let them talk and you guys listen more. They want to talk. They want to talk as long as they can. You can also block 4 hours for a listing appointment with a high I and then work your way back. But they need to be heard. They want to be heard. Sometimes you'll win a listing not because you're the smartest person in the room, but because you're the most patient. But because you spent more time, because you found out their kids' schools, and then you came back over and you said, I remembered your son was going to German immersion and I brought them a German book. Does that make sense? Little tiny details. This is very important to high I. Aleem has been close to a 4-hour appointment. God help you, Aleem. God help you. Oh my gosh. Use your stories and experiences. That's why they like testimonials. Use, and if you guys can mute yourselves, if you're not, Carly, I think you might want to mute yourself, or Wes, you can actually mute her from your end. So use stories and experiences. Like my friend Charlie, when he was buying a house, he was doing X, Y, and Z. You can do things like that. And you should have some stories and experiences that you can throw out as necessary. That's a script. That's just information you have in your back pocket. This is 25% of the population. Okay, next slide. Safety and security. People who lead with safety and security, we have no idea where it came from, but somewhere along the way, something made them nervous. They're not going to lead with confidence. They're going to be like this. When you're on a listing appointment with safety and security people, they're like this. They don't give you a lot. They hang back and they watch. They're checking you out. They're going through their filters, deciding if you're someone they can trust. And it's not that you're going to lie to them. It's that, can they count on you? When you are talking to people like that, you may want to say, we want to make sure that it's the most comfortable experience for you and your family. So if you don't want to put the lockbox on the door and you want to bring it inside at the end of the night, that's okay. As long as your family is most comfortable, that's the most important thing. You see how that's about safety and security for them and knowledge that they're in control of some of the experience. It is about control, but it's not the other kind of control, the domineering control. It's really because these people do not like to have anything that's ambiguous. They want to have knowledge. They don't like sudden changes. If you tell them you're going down one path and all of a sudden it's something else, they don't like that. So with an S person, I would say all the scenarios. When you get your appraisal back, there are 4 things that could happen. It could either be the appraisal price and everything goes smoothly into the good night. It could be lower, it could be higher. You have to give them scenarios of what could happen so they don't anticipate any sudden changes. They probably don't love surprises, right? They can be conforming, so they're just going to follow along if they're not able to really, speak up or risk speaking up. And they can be indecisive. They like predictability, no conflict, ease. If you walk in like a Tasmanian devil and a high D personality into this room with these people, they're going to be scared away. They don't feel like they can trust you because you're too hyper. If you walk in and you're like, I love cats and dogs and my cat's name is Charlie, and you're only focusing on the connection and not listening to what their body language needs, which is safety, stability, and security, you must say things like, when we get to the closing table, in all my track record, I've closed all these deals. Place is the #1 real estate team in the nation. Those are the kinds of things that they want to hear, that they can hang on to. They're called anchor statements, right? They want to know that you're going to get it done for them. Their decision style is deliberate. They've thought this through and they feel a certain way and they feel like you're going to connect with them and you're going to take care of them. Okay, what's the next slide? Okay, how questions. The S people want to know how to get from point A to point B. So they're going to ask you, how are you going to do this? And you're going to ask them, how is this going to be going for you? How did you want it to look? How did you want the timeline to look? What's best for your family? Does that make sense? These are questions for them that are going to let them feel like you've thought this through for them. Stay friendly and supportive. These people also require some patience. This is the majority of the population. So 35% of the population, more than a third, are looking for safety and security. Think about the United States. People are highly focused on, is this going to be a scam or is this the real thing? And how do you make somebody feel like you're the real thing, right? Be sincere, be solid, be someone that they can count on. Simple things like, if the appointment's at 1 o'clock, show up at 1 o'clock. If you say you're going to email them, follow through on your email. Those are tests. They're giving you little tests, making sure that you're solid. So don't make a lot of changes for them, okay? And the last one is C, and that is the computer sort of compliance analytical type of person. Everything you're saying, they're running it through the computer program. They're processing, and some of these people have really fast computer processing and some of them are slow. They need to grind and churn, right? They want accuracy and order. What is step 1? What is step 2? I have a hard time with people like this because I believe the world is gray and they want the world to be black and white. They want step 1, step 2, step 3. And I'm like, figure it out, pivot. I want people to just go with the flow, but these people are not go with the flow. There's no flow. They want the boat. They want to go from point A to point B to point C to point D. Does that make sense? These are accountants. They're engineers. They're rule followers. And if someone breaks the rule, they call it out or they talk about it, right? And then if you miss something on your listing presentation, they're going to go, what about this? Oh, we're not doing drone for your property, but it says drone in the book. I understand. Drone are for properties that are an acre or larger. But my house needs drone. Do you see where I'm going with this? So you better be ready for this kind of stuff. They will spend a long time on listing appointments and buyer consultations because they'll ask a lot of questions. They can be critical. They don't want to be. I'm sorry. They can come off sounding like they're critical, or they can fear criticism for them. They're going to criticize you all day long because they're going to put holes in whatever you're saying. But they don't want you to critique them. This is their process. Okay, they don't like someone who doesn't have standards. So when I'm speaking to people that are high S or high C, I have to slow down. I have to give them a lot of detail. I have to give them a lot of data. Anybody here like data? So Andre, Lisa loves data. Yep. So don't give too much, but just the right amount, right? It's hard to figure it out. These people can be withdrawn and stubborn. When you meet them, this is what they're usually doing. They have like a notebook, piece of paper. They're writing everything you say down. They might even record you. That seems fun. And then they'll come back and they'll call you out, right? Well, you said on this day that if the appraisal is too low, these are the 4 things that could happen. I did say that. That's right, right? So just be really careful. They're stubborn. They take you for your word. So whatever comes out of your mouth, please be clear. Whatever comes out of your mouth. If you say we're under contract, they take you very literally. Literally. They like organization, logic, boxes. If you want to give them a gift, they like boxes. Quality, high quality, right? It's not about the quantity. It's about making sure that everything is perfect when you give it to them. If you make a mistake on a listing document and you put the buyer's box to initial on the seller side, they'll call you out. They will call you out. You could have done it so fast. You could have been the most stellar agent, but they'll call you out if something's on the wrong box or if there's a box missing. And their decision-making style is very analytical. Okay, next slide. They think everything through. These are the type of people you can ask them why questions, and they're going to ask you why questions back and forth. Why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing that? And you have to ask them, why are you moving? What's it, why are these things happening in your world? Why, is the price point important to you, et cetera? They're going to ask you the same questions. Why are we doing it this way? What does that mean? What's going on here? They're going to be very intricate about wanting to understand the process. Not as much as the people that are safety and security. These people just want to know if the color is black or white and why we're going into this area or this area. They ultimately just want to understand. They're not trying to take over your job. They want no surprises. They want you to be fully prepared. You cannot coast into this presentation. You can come in on 2 wheels for a D and you can use your personality or your drive, but you can't do it with these guys. You have to have all your numbers ready. Your paperwork has to be ready, and you have to follow up with them. If you don't have it ready, you probably won't get the listing. But if you do somehow, you should get the documents to them quickly. They want all the facts, and this is 25% of the population. Okay, what's next? Okay, the most important thing I will tell you is, have you determined, and go ahead and put it in chat, tell me what type of person you are. I'm going to put mine in there while you guys are doing it. I'm a high D, high I. The styles, you can be up to 100%. So if you go over 50% when you do your disc profile, and I'm going to share with you a disc profile that's free. You can literally Google free disc profile online right now, and it'll give you a test. But anything 50% or more starts to become, a major style. I'm 100% D and 100% I, but I lead with my D. So Wes and I are the same, but Wes leads with his I. Do you guys know Wes? Okay. So he leads with his I because he's so sweet. I am not ever thought of as sweet. Does that make sense? But we both have the same thing. We're just 2 sides. We get along really well because we're 2 sides of the same coin. Let's see. Lisa is an ISC. My gosh, I've known Lisa for 4 years plus, and she is the nicest, kindest, sweetest person, and she's an influencer. And on the back side of that, she's high on security and computer and analytics. She's actually a dream buyer's agent and listing agent. She's a dream. People just think that she's amazing. Every once in a while, someone will call her out on a detail. And so that's, you got to be aware of that, right? But her influence is so high. SCS, Jeff. I don't know Jeff on here. Your computer and security. So you got to understand that you got to activate a little bit of drive and a little bit of personality sometimes, right? Are you an agent, Jeff? You might want to put in here, Jeff is Robbie Sands, goofball. All right, Jana, yes, DI, you and I are very alike, and I have a strong suspicion that's why you're so successful, so welcome. Andre, organically C, adaptive I. Andre is like, he's like a chameleon. Andre is like the kind of person that will pivot and become whatever you want him to be. He could be Italian tomorrow, and he could be Greek the next day, and then he's really from Louisiana. So and he's just falls into all these different personalities. Are any of you, were you in the military or did you travel a lot when you were a kid? Those kinds of situations put you in adaptive mode all the time. So if you've been around all different kinds of people in your life, you're probably going to be able to blend. So Aleem, you've blended in multiple different, cultures. That's really important, right? Let's see, Amy IS with some D. Interesting. That's why you're with Steve, right? And she's high I. Wes is sweet. Yeah, he's very sweet. Brian, high D, high C. Brian, I did not know that about you. Brian works for Atlanta. I did not know he was a high D, but he gets it done. He definitely leads with his C. Thank you for posting the disc profile right there, Wes. And Raphael, you're high D with C. You and Brian are very similar. Who else did I miss? Aleem, high C, high S. Aleem, how are you doing as an agent with that profile? Curious.
Like you said, I have to adapt quite a lot.
Okay, so you're very intelligent. Do you understand that when you speak, I can hear your cerebral, like it's like you're processing, and I can hear you speak it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Did your parents speak a different language at home?
Yeah, a couple different languages.
Okay. When you have that scenario, you're filtering on a dime. You're filtering on a dime. So you end up becoming an analytical person. And then you can actually go above that if you want and never let on by spinning the way you speak. And you can adapt as into an I and a D for the moment, right? That's not your natural space.
No, it's exhausting.
It's acting is what it is. It's exhausting and acting, but it will help you. But I love acting. I should have been an actress, but instead I'm a real estate agent. So that's where we are. Okay. But I'm just telling you, it can be done. Let's see, Zach, you got a lot of people here who are very high CSs. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Andre, you could teach a class one day about adapting from a C to an I. It just requires listening. It requires reading body language. Amy down below is very big on body. She gives me all the answers. I can tell when she doesn't like a conversation, and I can tell when she does. She has a micro expression. Watch the micro. Can you take me off? Can you take us off? Put us on gallery view. Take the presentation off, please.
Give me just 1 second here.
Yeah, Wes really wanted to be my backup person today. Mirroring for you is the key. Andre, literally, this is how Andre and I go. With permission, Andre, I'll say something and he'll go, yeah. I already knew that. And every time he'll go, yeah, I already knew that. Makes me feel so comfortable, whether he did already know or not. He makes me feel comfortable because he's a king of spin. Look up the word king of spin. If you are able to spin whatever's going on for the benefit of the client, you will more likely be connected to them. Look at Amy, right? I can read your body language if you guys let me. And what I can do is I can read your micro expressions, which means if someone's uncomfortable or comfortable, watch this. Little tiny things that people do, little tiny twits. If I say something to a client and then their neck goes, itchy like that, or twitch their eye, they don't like what I just said. Sometimes I go like this. What did you think about that? And they go, oh, honestly, I didn't like that. I don't want to go in at 435. I want to go in at 450, right? Or something like that. You have to read it. If you're not reading it, you're not feeling it, and you're not connected to them. So Aleem, for you, you're going to have to activate your high I feeling, because you're listening for the words, but they're not going to come out as words. They're going to come out as stuff, as feeling. And if some of you are just operating off of virtual worlds or words, right? You might be assisting, or you might be doing something where you don't get to have the interaction with someone. When people lean back into their chairs, they don't like the conversation. If they lean forward into the chairs, they like the conversation. This is all body language analysis from the FBI. I do a whole nother class on this, so I'm happy to come back. But you have to be able to read people, read their expressions, read their doubts, their cues, their high likes and their low lows. If you start talking about dogs and their cat people, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to have a micro expression of discomfort, disgust. When people are interviewing, criminals, That's how they gauge whether they're telling the truth or not. They do a lot of deep dive. You can watch a show. What was that show called? I'll figure it out. I'll think of it.
Lie
I'll
to
tell
Me.
you. Lie to Me. If you watch Lie to Me, which I've watched 3 times, I'm very proud to say, I have memorized like a lot of these things. This falls into the disc patterns. People try to hide. As much as you're adaptive to learning their style, they're trying to hide from you at the very beginning. They don't want you to know their discomfort, or they don't like something. And they also don't know if they're going to pick you. So they're trying to stay protected, if that makes sense. All right. And you're just giving all of yourself, thinking that it's okay to give all of myself. If you give too much of yourself and that's not the right fit for them, and they haven't given you anything to know what they are, you might not make that appointment. You might not make it with the client. Sometimes we take clients out and then they fire us later and we don't know what we did. And that's okay. It happens, but you got to debrief yourself. You have to own whatever DNA you had on it. What did I do or not do? What did I not listen to? What did I not pick up on that will affect this relationship? It's all about learning and getting back up and doing it all over again. We're never going to be 100% to everybody. If you watch Indian matchmaking or Jewish matchmaking, she always says 60, 70%, right? Do your best to understand who you are, which one of these things you are. And then when you meet somebody right out of the gate, figure out what they are and go after it, right? So Aleem, just really quick exercise before we get off here, and I don't want to take up too much of your mornings. If you're coming at me with a listing presentation, can we have permission to go back and forth and for me to give you some feedback?
Sure.
Okay. So when you have your hands in front of your face like that, just notice on any Zoom, when someone does this, does this, does this, that's discomfort. So that's discomfort, Aleem. And if you have a high S personality and they see you doing that, they're going to automatically subconsciously feel you're still doing it, feel distrust, right?
Yeah.
And it makes you uncomfortable. That this is a very comfortable place for you. You just brought your hand up.
I do it for comfort. I'm doing it because it is comfortable for me.
Absolutely. And you have to practice really hard, especially when you guys are doing videos, not to put your hands up here or do things like that, because it sends another message of non-clarity. I promise you that you will get much better return, especially on virtuals, when your hands are either visible, but they're not in front of your face and not holding you up. Does that make sense? Does that help you understand?
Yep.
That's a matching a mirror. And like, for instance, if you're going to be on video, which some of you are not, and that's okay, I know what you're up to. I can read your eyes. I know if you're here with me or you're not. Raphael, you just twitched your eyebrow. That's right. And your micro expression of happiness is very small, but give me a full smile. There you go. Okay. When you're doing this, you want to connect with people. And you have to read them with your other senses, not your visual. You have to feel them, right? See, my team is on video and they're in your face because I don't tolerate anything else. I'm always like, I want to see everything about you because I want to understand you. Do you feel like you can trust me now? Because I've just come forward towards you, Aleem, and I've given you all of myself. I have nothing to hide behind. That's really important to a high S.
I'm a high C, so I think I would receive that a little bit differently. That would make me uncomfortable.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And this is how high D and high I's operate so that you know how they operate. Remember, it's not about your comfort level. It's about the client's comfort level. Does that make sense? So
Right.
If I'm high D, high I, you're going to have to come at me. Give it to me. Talk to me like I'm a high D, high I, which I am. Talk to me. Putting you on the spot.
Hey, yeah, nice to meet you. I enjoyed speaking with you earlier about, cultures and customs, and hope we get to
Yes.
do it again. Yep.
Did you hear what he just did? Whether it's uncomfortable or not, he just connected about something we connected on. So that was so high I for him. And that may not be your natural state, right? You might want to go right into business or right into something else. But a high I wants you to talk about what you did over the weekend. When you get back into work, they want to know what went on this weekend. What movie did you watch? How was your Memorial Day party? Does that make sense? And then at the end of the day, they want to go, okay, well, I hope you have a great time with your daughter this weekend. I forget to say these things. I'm like, bye. But they want to hear them. They want you to lubricate the conversation, right? Any other thoughts? Andre, Lisa, you guys spend a lot of time with me. Brian loves me. He's constantly laughing. Amy gets me, and here's why she gets me. Everything I say, she nods her head. She's got a lot of I in her, and that makes me feel really good as a D and as an I, because she's talking to me when she's doing that. If you give me nothing and you're blank, it's really hard for a high I, because I feel like you didn't fall in love with me. Like, Robbie, if you're not going to give me more eye contact, I'm going to come for you.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Jimuel, how do you pronounce your name?
Yeah, you're right. It's Jimbo.
Jimuel, yeah, nice to talk to you. Anything you want to add to the conversation?
It was really fun, and I learned a lot from the DICS.
Nice. All right, it was really fun. I like that. Holly, I didn't get to see you. I have completely expressed my feelings on my face. I can't hide it. Sometimes it is a fault. Amy, it's only a fault when you are uncomfortable with something and you scrunch up your face. When you scrunch up your face and you don't know you're scrunched up your face, because when you're excited about something, that's amazing, isn't it? If someone's excited about the conversation and they can't help but show it on their face, that's amazing. But my fault, and maybe Amy, your fault, my fault is when I don't like something, I'm like this. I don't like it, but I can't not show how to, and mostly I'm like this. So we have to work really hard on our expressions, but and turn on the acting. I do a lot better with strangers than I do with people that I love, because people that I love, they're going to love me anyway, right? So we have to work on this. And so I hope you learned one thing or another, or one tidbit that can take you to the next level with your business. As always, you know, Wes and Robbie have got you in their hands, and they're holding you tight and taking care of you, and Amy and Stephen, sorry. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Any questions?
I got one comment to add. The disc profile that I put down, you can take, and you can take a multiple one. They got Tony Robbins. There's lots of free ones. This is the one from Ford Coaching. And if you go to page 19, after you take the disc, it will actually tell you things that you like to hear and ways not to talk to you. And I want you to look at those, because that's going to help you interact with your clients too. And also give that to your spouse, because that'll help too.
Wow. Okay, I should do that. Jana.
Hey, thank you. It's so great. And we had Tamara talk to us about this in a similar way also. It's huge. And I guess my question to you would be, I mean, this is at the get-go, when you're meeting someone and then setting up appointment and then meeting with them face to face. This is something very fast that you figure out, I'm guessing. And this kind of dictates the course of action with this, each person pretty early on.
Oh yeah. You've got to listen to everything that they say. I think we're a little bit, when we're prospecting, I think we zone out a little bit. And if you actually listen to the way that they respond on the telephone, their very first response, hello, this is Jane, that's a high I. Or what? That's a D. Or this is Joe, it's a little bit calmer. Or, you know, you have to listen to the tonality, their speech, their cadence, the speed of how they speak, or whether or not they want to even remain on the phone with you. Let's say you get into a conversation and they might say things about, you have to listen to what they're saying. It's so hard, you guys. You're training yourself to listen and then be ready for something else. Here's what I can tell you. You don't have to respond right away. You can actually pause. You see how I just paused and nobody was uncomfortable and nobody left the room? You can actually stop and go like this. I hear you. I hear you. Those are, I hear you when you build it into your script, or awesome. Those are moments for you to pause and be thinking about what they just said and be ready for the next thing to say. But you've processed. She just talked about how she has 4 children and she's scared to let them out of the house. Okay, so she's safety and security. You have to listen to what do they do for a living? My favorite question is, what do you do for a living? When I ask someone what they do for a living, do you know why I'm asking? It's also because I want to know what they do from the disc profile, but it's because I want them to know that what I do for a living, 18 years 24 hours a day is I sell homes for a living. That's my job. That's not usually their job. So if they're an expired listing or for sale by owner, or they're somebody that I just know, I can come back and say, that's what I do for a living. I'm expecting them to ask me. When I ask them, what do you do for a living? They're going to ask me right back. But when I ask them what they do for a living, Jenna, and they say, I sell cars, or I'm the leader of the engineering department at Comcast, or I'm this, you kind of figure out what kind of person they are. You get an idea of it, right? How many of you used to be assistants, but someone told you that you would be better off as a salesperson? Okay, Lisa. And by the way, there's different kinds of salespeople. There's hard sales, which some people are offended by, and then there's customer service sales. And we want to be customer service sales. We don't want to be used car salesmen. We want to be somewhere in the middle. So if you came from teaching or you came from hospitality, that's customer service. But you have to amplify, Aleem, a little bit of that sales part. You have to close the deal. You have to close the deal. And by closing the deal, you're showing your value, but you have to ask for the business. That's been the hardest thing, right? So Jana, you're watching people and you're just picking up on all the signals. You're picking up and listening and giving yourself time to breathe. I hear you. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You hear what I just said? That makes sense. I'm saying it slowly so I can add more time to my processor.
All right,
What
thank
other
you.
questions? Go ahead. What other questions do you guys have? Carlia, can you hear me? Holly, any questions? You can even hear this on an outgoing voicemail message. I like that, Lisa. Yeah, so don't, every interaction that you have with any human being, they're going to give you a little bit of a tidbit about themselves, right? They're going to give you something, and take it. Just stop, don't ignore the signals. Just take it, receive it. Any other thoughts? Robbie, anything you want to say?
No, I think you did great. I love the disc profile stuff, and it's there's so many good books on it. There's also great, you mentioned mirroring. There's so many good books on mirroring, and I think you did great. It's good to see you.
You too. Anything you guys have, you guys can email me if you have any questions or want to talk again. My email is I'm going to put it in the chat. It's Karen@place.com, which I'm having a hard time writing it. I don't know why. And please send us all your Atlanta referrals. And what else can I say before we go?
Thank
Is that
you.
it?
Thank you
Oh,
so
yeah.
much.
It's my pleasure. All right. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Power
Power
up,
up, power up, power up.
Okay. Bye, Wes.
Thank you.
Thank you.